Hey everyone, it's your girl, Len by Jen, Jenny Lynn, and today on Unlock the Story, I have my next guest.
Hello everybody, my name is Errin Loyal. I'm a licensed attorney here in the state of Washington. I focus primarily on civil litigation. I also do transactional law such as trademarks and business formation, contracts, and estate planning. And I am currently transitioning to expand my transactional practice.
Yay! That's a lot, right? That's probably enough that we're like, wait, what did she say?
It's a lot. We'll explain that.
Yes, and the good news is that I brought her here today to share more about what that means for you guys and also share her story. So that way she has a very unique story, and I would love to, I wanted to highlight that and how it came to be. And a fun fact, we actually went to high school together and we were in cheer.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's not something that I think we expected, right? Like it just came to
it
be.
Did. It was a blessing.
It is. It was. And it built good relationships.
For sure.
And we actually lost touch for years, and then I moved back, and then somehow.
I don't even remember how we reconnected, which is usually how you know something's divine. So
yeah,
there
for sure.
you go.
For sure. Especially us where we're at now. I'm not even going to disclose our age.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah, about that part.
So anyways, what inspired you to become who you are today?
Well, as far as being an attorney is concerned, I remember thinking about being a lawyer as a kid. Like in elementary school, they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? But really, it wasn't until 11th grade, I took this random business law elective, and we went on this really cool field trip to the law schools here in Seattle. So UW, Seattle U, where I graduated from. And then we went to both of the courthouses, the King County courthouses. And I saw these Black lawyers and judges and law school deans. And I was like, there's people of color doing this. This is awesome. And ever since then, that's really what inspired me to pursue law. I didn't really think I was capable of doing law because my first 2 years of law school, I had just really drifted. I was really lost in trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. And I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil. So to have this, it was like, wow, this is inspiring. It's like, finally, I'm inspired.
Yeah.
It can be hard to inspire teenagers. But I would say from that moment, I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
Aw. And then look at you. You're here.
I did it.
Right?
I did it.
And I'd love for you to share that journey too, because I think at one point, when you were going to school and stuff like that, you had started Bliss.
Yes. Right. So let me backtrack a little, right? So I decided to pursue law. I ended up going to UW for undergrad right out of high school. And then a little bit later, I went to Seattle U for law school. I got an MBA at the same time, so I was a joint degree student. And I always wanted to get a business degree because I wanted to pursue business law. And it was weird because I was in this MBA class about, I think it was called Extraordinary Leaders. And our assignment, our project for the class was to do something we had always wanted to do that was business related. And I was like, well, I want to start a business, but I was really scared. So this was my opportunity to do it. And so I decided to start this women's clothing line, right? Well, not a line, but selling designer dresses.
Okay.
And it was all experimental. But had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have been prepared for Bliss Better, right? So
Okay.
Bliss Better was kind of an accidental business, but I had 2 kids while I was in law school, and my older daughter had been diagnosed with eczema when she was 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
So, we had a pediatrician, we had a dermatologist, we had an allergist. They're giving us all this, here, take this, try this. Nothing was working. So I just did some research and tried to figure out what I could do for my baby.
Yeah.
That was natural, and see if it was a more sustainable, practice. And it worked. So I created this butter that actually my husband named, and it just healed her. So this was the first real entrepreneurial endeavor. I made real money. It was my side hustle in law school. I was also doing some business consulting on the side because I couldn't, do legal advice, but I was helping people start businesses, just this was my opportunity to finally do what I've been wanting to do and helping others to do. And I feel like sometimes it's like that, you know, you want to do something and then you're helping others do it, and then it becomes your opportunity to do it for yourself, you know.
Yeah. You don't realize, like, and okay, this sounds very woo-woo, but like sometimes it could be your calling, like that path, and it can take you in different journeys. And at that time of your life, that was your journey.
It was. And it was, I mean, even having kids in law school alone is quite a journey. So
we'll go through the challenges after you share the story.
Yes. So to have to also solve a problem, but you know, that's what you're taught in law school, is like being a lawyer isn't to learn all this law and know all these things. It's how are you going to figure out how to solve a problem? So my first, you know, situation was my baby, you know, and I figured it out. I mean, people used to make comments about her skin, you know. So once I had started using this, people would make comments about how good it looked and that it was healing. And so I missed that business. I had to temporarily pause it because of my law practice. I thought I could do both, you know, trying to be superwoman. But I think it was within 6 months of opening my law practice, I had to put Bliss Butter on pause. So I do want to relaunch it. I'm hoping to, like, you know, create some staff and create jobs for people and get it back in the community. So in the meantime, here I am.
Yeah. And I know you had talked about some of the challenges you had to face, you know, starting and, you know, becoming an entrepreneur and kind of launching. Maybe can you share a little bit more about what that looked like and what you kind of learned from that and what you would love to share for others who are kind of just starting something?
Yes. So first of all, Bliss Butter was kind of a divine accident. I say divine accident because it was clearly meant to be. You know, I was trying to give just samples to people. Like, they were like, well, what are you using? I have eczema. What are you using on your daughter? I have a goddaughter with eczema. Or, you know, I was like, here, just take some. And it ended up like, no, I need to pay you for this. And then that's how it ended up becoming a business. But I would say the biggest challenge that I had to overcome was just starting. You know, sometimes we're afraid to just push that launch button when the reality is if you're solving a problem, there's always going to be a need for what you're solving, and you can focus more on just getting out there and making a difference than, I guess, the aesthetic of a business. There are a lot of people who want to look like they're running a business and they don't understand that if you're solving a problem, you are really running a business. Like, it's more valuable to solve a problem than just look like you're running a business. And I think that's the lesson for me, right? I had this beautiful boutique as like this experimental business, but it wasn't until I started Bliss Butter that I was solving problems for people in the community, like babies. And then it was like, wow, this is like impactful work, you know? So don't be afraid to start. Just go for it. Just go for it. And you know, persevere. They love to give statistics about how businesses fail in X amount of time early on, but if you ignore the obstacles, a lot of them will go away sometimes.
Yeah, and I love that you shared that because it is kind of aligned with like your purpose and that you had a passion for it, and then the whole solving problems. Because for example, my niece, like, she had, you know, skin issues too, and like they tried everything, and I'm pretty sure it's really common too, especially in cultures like, I mean, in Filipino culture too, there's a lot of people who have eczema, and you know, they're going to the doctor, and what do they give you? They prescribe this, and oh, that doesn't work, let's try this. Oh, but here's some challenges to that. And so you really did bring a need for others and something to try, and it worked.
And I never thought of myself as a product-based business. I was always a service-based person. Like, that was what I was training to do. And here I successfully brought a product to market, and it really helped people. So I want to get back to that. My ultimate goal, even though I am an attorney, is to just continue to create capital to continue to start businesses and have several businesses.
So let's talk about that. So creating capital. Being an attorney, like, what are some ways that, I guess, not just homeowners, but for, you know, the general public to protect assets, or like, what are some things that you might be able to share for people who are interested in that?
So for business owners and, you know, just regular family people alike, whether you just work a job or you're an entrepreneur, There are several tools to protect your assets, to grow your wealth. I mean, there's a slew of them. So honestly, the way it works as an estate planner, I sit down with my client, I listen to them, talk about their needs. I usually have them fill out a pretty extensive questionnaire first, but I listen to them talk about like what their objectives are, but also what their family dynamic is. Like, you know, what is your life like? What are your goals? I mean, it's a very intimate conversation, you know, about your children, your spouse, and even business owners. We have to talk about all of that because all of that comes into play when you're ready to assign your business interests, right, in a trust. So there's many ways. I can't get into all the details here, but I would say, right, we'll make this fun. My favorite estate planning tool is the trust because it keeps you out of court. And people don't understand that with a will is great. You get to specify the distribution of your assets, but you end up setting up your family to go to court later. So even though a will is less expensive usually up front, the family pays more on the other end having to do probate court. So I highly recommend a trust, and I highly recommend you come see me about that trust.
Yes. And speaking of wills and trusts, we will be talking on that, and we're actually having an event coming at the end of the month that we would love for you guys to attend. It's free, it's going to be virtual, and anyone and everyone can join. But we'll get back to you guys on that. So now that you know, you've done so much in your world, right? Just being a mother, right? And at the time you said you put you were, I think, raising 2 kids at the time, and you have how many now, right?
I had my third daughter in 2022. So she will be 2 this summer.
Yeah. See, superwoman for sure right here.
Yeah, I'm trying.
No, you really are. You're holding a lot of hats. And, you know, aside from all of that, what do you like to do for fun? What do you and your family like to do?
So I'll focus on like my self-care, right? Like what I need to do for me time. I am an artist. So I love to sing. I love to write music. I actually just recently got the courage to start releasing music publicly, professionally. But I also do like digital portraiture. So like I'll take pictures of things or find a picture and transform it by adding other digital elements, right? So if you know of an app like what's a good app? Like Canva or something. If you're making a flyer, right, for your business, usually they have like a template. But there's sometimes you can add your own picture and build things on top of that. Anyway, I just love that. It's like, I don't know why it's so therapeutic for me, but being creative is therapeutic. And I grew up writing, so I just love to spend time writing, like as much as I can be reflective. With my family, anytime we can travel or watch movies or just cuddle. Cuddly. That's my favorite thing to do, to relax.
Yeah.
And a good spa day.
Yeah, for sure, especially with Mother's Day coming up. I'm just kidding. Hint, hint.
Hey.
What would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now, if we look back?
I would tell younger Errin that you're more than capable of being a good lawyer. If you're going to choose this path, persevere and don't complain. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You're going to do it, just do it.
Get it done.
Get it done. Well, without the complaining. I think I struggled a lot in my younger years with having a good attitude, right? Like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes I was so caught up in just grinding and studying and working and mothering that I didn't have a space for myself.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see where I was. I didn't see future Errin. You know what I mean? So I think if I could go back in time and talk to her, I'd be like, girl, you got this. Just keep going, keep going. And give yourself grace. I don't think I gave myself grace. Had I given myself more grace, I probably would have had a brighter attitude.
Yeah, for sure. Give yourself grace through those hard times because you don't realize, like, I always tell everyone, like, whenever you're, and I'm not saying this because it's because I've gone through hard times too that I share that. Like, but do give yourself grace because we are our worst critics and we will beat ourselves up to the core where you just cannot allow it to let it sit with you, especially in the mental space. You got to know that what you're going through is not going to be a forever thing and that you're going to get over that. And it's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah. And it's not helping you do your job. So just don't do it.
What is that if you're not happy, then you can't be happy for others because that energy like radiates.
Right. It does. And I have noticed that helping others and being happy for others. Like, that's the joy that I get out of estate planning and business advising. I'm helping people like launch their dreams, or like with estate planning, it's more about peace of mind.
Yep.
But like helping people achieve that is like, that gives me this, like, I don't know, this wave of good feelings. And like when I'm helping others, it makes me feel better about where I may be, right?
Yes.
I do civil rights work as well, right? And these are some big issues. But civil litigation is not a game. I mean, it's very heavy work. And, you know, especially as opposed to like the transactional side.
Yeah.
So having that transactional side it's a nice balance to, you know, that heavier social justice aspect of the law too.
Yeah. Can you share some of the things that are being highlighted right now, or something that maybe the general people can, you know, have more awareness in, especially when it comes to things like that? Because I know we have those everyday stories that you're facing, and when they're going through certain situations, it's like, who do you ask, you know? And not everything has to cost money. You just have to find the right person to ask, or someone who's experienced in things like that.
Yeah, so even though I'm transitioning, right, it doesn't mean that I'm not taking civil rights cases. It just means that I'm focusing more on expanding the transactional side, right? So I have maybe 11 or 12 civil rights cases, but it takes up about 90% of my time, right? And that's how it should be. A lawyer takes an oath to be competent in representing someone. But I think the hardest things are representing, you know, the estate of a deceased person, or representing their family in a wrongful death case. And I have a few of those. I'm one of several attorneys, you know what I mean? I work with the team, I contract, even though I have my own firm, I contract with another firm on select civil rights cases. But I think the biggest thing that bothers me, or that the public should know, is that there's a lot of cases that never make the news, you know, the national news. That's usually just the tip of the iceberg. And if we think that's bad, I mean, that just goes to show that we all have an obligation to heal our community. And it doesn't matter what your race, your gender, your class is. You have an obligation to not perpetuate what is wrong. That means racism, that means sexism, shadism, classism. Just treat people right, you know. It's better to be proactive than reactive. Civil rights law, in my opinion, is a lot like knocking on the door of a labyrinth. And when the door opens, here you have this, you know, opportunity to fight, but you have to go through this labyrinth up to this very esteemed castle. Yeah. And there's tricks along the way. It's very challenging.
It can be, yeah.
So if we can just, you know, do the things we can in our community beforehand, there's a lot of things that we can prevent. And that starts with the police as well, you know. Obviously, I'm a plaintiff's lawyer. I sue the police pretty often. Doesn't mean they're all bad, but it just means there's a lot of trust in that role. Yeah. And I think that when that trust is violated, it just perpetuates how we see America and the issues in the country. So I think if we can start with reformation there, we're off to a great start.
Yeah. And you just can't believe everything that's on the news, you guys. Like, we often hear the negative things that's being highlighted, but there's a lot of stories and heavy things that are happening that are not on scene. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, thanks so much for sharing and shedding some light on that. I know we're short on time, and we probably will have a ton of questions or maybe comments about what you're sharing. And, you know, we'd love to have you back, and maybe we can answer some of those questions.
Well, thank you. I'd love to come back. I had a great time today. I hope that you guys felt like I gave you some insight and I provided value. So.
Yes, for sure. And I feel like a lot of what you're sharing, who you are, what you're doing, what your journey is, will truly inspire. You know, and if for those of you guys out there, if you guys have any questions or want to learn more about what she's sharing through estate planning or some of the civil rights, you know, movement, share it, leave comments. We'd love to learn more about it. Love for you guys to hear what your feedback is. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here today and just being and sharing.
Yeah.
You know?
No, thank you.
Like, I feel like I have
free
so
to reach
many-
out too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I have so many questions that I want to ask, but we're just so short on time. So I have to have her come back, you guys. You guys know
No,
those.
I'd love to. We'll make another date. This was great.
Yeah.
I love to talk about, and I don't get to talk about the social issues behind the civil rights stuff sometimes. So usually it's all just, emotions, and this was nice for me too. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the platform.
Yes, thank you. All right, everyone. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it. Share it with somebody that you know who might, this might inspire. And continue to hit that, what is it?
Subscribe.
The subscribe button. I'm
Push the
horrible at
subscribe.
saying this, but continue to hit that subscribe button so that way you can see more videos in the future.
Yes. Thank you.
Until next time.